Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa kabar kawan-kawan semua untuk pelaut yang ada di sana? Malam ini gue mau bahas sedikit mengenai posted control. Apa sih posted control itu? Ya, sebagaimana kita ketahui, pertemuan IMO Subcommittee on Implementation of IMO Instrument 1-5 Juli tahun 2019 telah menyetujui agenda Measure to Harmonize Posted Control untuk prosedur ke seluruh dunia, di mana agenda ini berisi amandemen terhadap prosedur PSC 2017 resolusi A titik 11 119 dalam kurung 30. Jadi kawan-kawan, IMO sudah membuat prosedur penyeragaman ke seluruh dunia. Ini berdasarkan dari mana? Yaitu dari MOU dari seluruh negara-negara. Kayak di Eropa ada Paris MOU, untuk di Asia Pasifik di bawahnya MOU Tokyo MOU, ada Amerika Latin MOU, ada Caribbean MOU, ada Mediterranean MOU, ada juga Indian Ocean MOU, ada Liga Arab yaitu GCC, yaitu Riyadh MOU. Kenapa IMO harus menggabungkan, mensinkroniskan seluruh MOU ini agar seragam untuk seluruh dunia? Tujuannya dari pelabuhan ke pelabuhan satu, pemeriksaan untuk kapal-kapal ini sama, tidak ada perbedaan sama sekali. Tujuannya kenapa sih? Apa sih keuntungan dari PSC? Banyak orang takut kalau PSC datang. Wah, PSC datang, sebenarnya itu benefit buat kita yang tinggal di atas kapal. Dengan adanya PSC ini, mau tidak mau perusahaan itu wajib mengikuti aturan standar prosedur yang benar sesuai standar SOLAS, MARPOL, STCW 95, sesuai juga dengan MLC 2006. Pelaut ini dijaga sama PSC sebenarnya. Bukannya kita takut. Dengan adanya inspeksi-inspeksi ini, berarti kehidupan pelaut dijamin, keselamatan pelaut dijamin, termasuk pelayarannya, kapalnya, maupun aset-aset dari perusahaan itu sendiri, gitu loh. Itu pentingnya PSC sebenarnya. Cuman kan kadang-kadang orang mindsetnya beda, ya. Sekarang contohnya, kalau kita dengan SOLAS, banyak kapal yang tidak mengikuti standar SOLAS. Kapal lebih dari 500 GT, tapi dia tidak mengikuti aturan. Umpamanya, contohnya, krunya tidak kompeten, atau kapalnya itu tidak menjalankan ISM Code. Nah, semua kegiatan-kegiatan di atas kapal itu ada standarisasinya tentang manajemen safety. Nah, manajemen safety di atas kapal itu harus diterapkan. Kalau tidak diterapkan, justru tidak ada catatan-catatan khusus. Jika suatu saat nanti ada kecelakaan, tidak ada data-data mengenai kapal tersebut. Nah, disinilah fungsi dari PSC menerapkan. Ambil contoh SOLAS, mungkin life jacketnya atau alat navigasinya sudah defisiensi, ya, mengalami kerusakan, tapi tidak ada perbaikan. Nah, saya ambil contoh umpamanya lightboot. Setelah dicek, mesinnya mati dan mungkin bahkan mesin bootnya tidak ada. Nah, kalau terjadi kecelakaan di tengah laut, tidak ada mesin, bagaimana pelaut itu bisa menyelamatkan diri? Nah, poin-poin di situ seperti life jacket, mungkin lampu-lampunya mati, ya kan? Atau mungkin breathing apparatus sudah expire atau tidak ada isinya. Jadi hal-hal itulah yang harus diikuti sesuai standar SOLAS, fungsi dari PSC itu. Terus ada lagi tentang MARPOL. Bagaimana PSC ini memprediksi, mengkalkulasi juga lah. Jangan sampai pelaut ini sembarangan membuang minyak-minyak kotor setelah dipakai. Itu tidak boleh. Jadi harus ada aturannya, prosedurnya bagaimana. Garbage, minyak kotor itu harus ditempatkan sesuai prosedur-prosedur yang benar. juga mengenai STCW. Kenapa harus dicek? STCW penting sekali. Banyak pelaut yang mungkin kalau kita nggak cek, dia pergi ke luar negeri dokumennya mati, ya kan? Atau ya seperti COC, ya kan, mati. Atau kelengkapan GMDSS atau sertifikat lainnya BSD, atau mungkin tidak lengkap. Nah, jadi sebelum pelaut itu naik kapal, apalagi kapal ini tujuannya ocean going, dokumen pelaut harus pilot. Bukan hanya dokumen pelaut, termasuk juga dokumen-dokumen kapal. Kapal tidak boleh belayar kalau dokumennya mati. Makanya PSC naik, pasti yang akan dicek itu pertama adalah dokumen kapal dulu. Dokumen kapal dan dokumen kru. Itu akan dipanggil. Salah satu contoh umpamanya, kapal bendera kebangsaannya misalnya Bilis, tapi perwira di atas kapal itu tidak punya endorsement Bilis, dan ini akan masalah. Mau dia bendera set kontrolnya bendera kebangsaannya itu adalah Bilis, Panama atau Saint Vincent, semua pelaut yang naik di kapal itu dia wajib menggunakan bendera kebangsaan sesuai yang di-approve, dan harus endorsement dari kebangsaan itu, gitu. Jadi hal-hal itulah yang mesti dicek. Kenapa? Itu wajib untuk menjamin keselamatan kapal supaya layak laut. Layak laut itu bukan hanya kapalnya itu GM-nya positif, tapi termasuk kru juga harus dokumen-dokumennya harus pilot, gitu. Nah, yang satu lagi juga mengenai MLC. Posisi kontrol tuh akan cek ke kamar-kamar, engine, anjungan, bawah, semua dicek. Tentang makanan sampai ke gele-gele itu semua dicek. Karena dia memastikan juga apakah kehidupan pelaut di sana tinggalnya nyaman. Mungkin akan ditanyakan juga mengenai drill atau yang lain. Jadi semua yang di atas kapal itu harus sudah mempunyai standar pelatihan sebagai pelaut yang baik. Itu fungsinya PSC. Nah, untuk lebih jelasnya kalian bisa lihat di video ini. Semoga bermanfaat.
In 1982 in Paris, 14 European countries signed a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU, on port state control. The Paris MOU currently includes 27 countries. Other MOUs were established in the Asia-Pacific region, South America, the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, the Indian Ocean, West Africa, the Black Sea, and the Arabian Gulf. Now there are 9 MOUs incorporating nearly 140 countries. The US Coast Guard also inspects ships under port state regulations. The objective of all these countries is to ensure that the ships in their waters are properly maintained and properly run. Although port state control was intended to benefit the port states, it has benefited both ships' crews and honest ship operators. As soon as a ship is scheduled to arrive, the Port State Authority examines its records for its recent MOU inspection history. If it has had problems in the past, or has not been inspected recently, it will go onto the selection list for inspection. Each MOU has its own method for selecting ships. Many look at the ship's history and also its type. If it is of a type and age considered a higher risk, it will go on the selection list. If its flag state or recognized organization has had a poor record of detentions, the ship will go on the list. If a complaint has been received, either from a previous port, a crew member, or a pilot, that will also put the ship on the list. Once the ships have been selected, the Port State Control Officers, the PSCOs, are assigned. the ship is not informed, the PSCO always arrives without warning. The objective of port state control is to ensure that all the ships passing through the port state's water are operated according to international standards. The basic inspection regime for all the MOUs is the IMO conventions. These include the load lines, SOLAS, MARPOL, STCW, COLREG and tonnage conventions. Some MOUs also examine compliance with the relevant ILO conventions. Ships can check each MOU's website for their further requirements. Complications can arise because for all members of MOUs, their national legislation will take priority over the MOU agreements. In a few cases, the standard required may be more demanding. For example, in the Paris MOU, EU member states will inspect under Paris MOU, EU, and their own national regulations. Ship operators need to be aware that in all MOUs, national regulations will take precedence. For the ship, there is no secret to passing a port state inspection. It's about keeping the ship up to standard, doing everything properly, and keeping good records to demonstrate that. MOUs have different levels of inspection. The initial inspection usually takes about 3 hours. If there are clear grounds for concern, it may progress to a more detailed inspection, adding another hour or two. Ships with a poor inspection history may be subject to a more detailed inspection. If the master believes a port state control inspection is likely, because the ship has not had one for a while, or that the agent has said that there has been an inquiry from port state control, the master should double-check the gangway watch.
Who would you like to see?
I'd like to see the captain.
Can I see your ID, please?
Okay.
An ineffective or absent gangway watch will start the inspection badly, as it implies poor compliance with the ISM Code. A proper gangway watch must always be in place.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Vincent. Take cadet. I'm going to take off to the captain. Thank you.
The ISPS code must be strictly kept to. Ships with high target scores, such as older bulk carriers, passenger ships, oil tankers, and gas and chemical carriers, will be subjected to an expanded inspection, which will take 6 to 8 hours. Under the Paris MOU, a ship is obliged to inform the port if it believes that it is due for a mandatory expanded inspection. The Paris MOU website lists the types of ship for which this is required. Always ensure that the PSCO is escorted to the master's cabin. Be aware that the inspector will be looking around to see the state of the ship.
Yes.
Once the PSCO is on board, the master should prepare the ship's documentation for inspection.
I need to see the vessel.
The ship should know that the PSCOs are not surveyors. Their objective is not to trick or trap the ship. Their job is to confirm that the ship is in good structural condition, well managed, and crewed by properly trained and competent personnel. A good test of this is the documentation. So all port state inspections will start with a full examination of the ship's documents. The ship must have the convention certificates required for its type, its year of build, its tonnage, and for the cargo it carries. These must be in date and endorsed for the required surveys by recognized organizations or the flag state. Particular attention will be paid to the manning documentation. All the crew certificates will be examined to check compliance with the STCW Convention. In an initial inspection, at least 1 hour will be taken up with examining the documents. One common problem is crew members who have not signed their flag state endorsements. It's better for them to do this before the arrival of the PSCO.
Thank you.
There are a number of areas where the documentation is particularly carefully examined. One of these is the ISM Code. The document of compliance and the safety management certificate will always be examined. It's important because these documents reflect the ability and commitment of the operating company managing the ship. If these documents are inaccurate or not up to date, then the ship's safety management system is liable to be examined more fully.
These are all inspections currently to be done.
Okay.
Another document that will be examined in detail is the oil record book. This is because people and politicians are very sensitive about oil spills. Even though the vast majority of oil in the sea is run off from the land, there are many waiting to pounce on any ship that spills oil. Is the oil record book detailed and kept correctly? Is it up to date? Is it consistent with the IOPP, the International Oil Pollution Prevention Certificate? Do the entries tally with the capability of the oily water separator? Any mistake in the book should be clearly crossed out, and the corrections signed with the initial mistake remaining legible. Any doubts or inconsistencies will be of great concern to any PSCO.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
If the ship certificates are acceptable and the PSCO has no clear grounds for a more detailed or enhanced inspection, the next stage of the inspection will be a walk around the ship. There is no specific order for the areas to be visited. Generally, the order is the bridge, then the deck, including all safety equipment, followed by the engine room, and ending up in the galley. Sometimes one PSCO will examine the deck and another the engine room.
Yeah, please test the light.
On the bridge, the PSCO will want to be reassured that all the equipment is functioning,
Okay. Please show me
that the reference books are up to date, and that there is detailed voyage planning.
Can I please see your voyage planning, please?
There must be a system in place for chart correction. There may be cultural differences between the ship's personnel and the PSCO, but both must show mutual respect. Neither side should try to mislead the other. There may be differences between PSCOs from different MOU ports, but the inspection regime is the same. Each PSCO is a professional, and they use their professional judgment in their work.
Okay, Chief. Yes. So please start the engine.
For the survival craft, the PSCO will want to see that they are in good condition and that they have been inspected as scheduled. The PSCO will want to know that all the life rafts are in date.
Okay. So, these.
PSCOs will need to be certain that regular drills take place. They can ask for a safety drill to be performed, provided the master decides it is safe to do so.
Can you show me?
It's easy to find faults with any ship, because no ship is ever perfect. The question is, does the deficiency or fault threaten the personnel or the environment? If there are serious deficiencies, these provide the PSCO with clear grounds for a more detailed inspection. As well as referring to the appropriate conventions, PSCOs use their professional judgment to determine this.
Do you have a screwdriver or something?
Here, the condition of the lifeboat davits gives real cause for concern. This is clear grounds for the inspector to progress to a more detailed inspection. PSCOs will want to look at the cargo plan and may want to speak to the chief officer.
I don't know. So check safety plan.
They must accommodate their inspections to the operational needs of the ship and its crew. The condition of the accommodation steelwork is examined and found to be seriously deficient. On deck, the PSCO will look at current cargo operations. The PSCO will look for any evidence of leakage from pipes, and also if the mooring lines are well maintained. In the engine room, the PSCO will need to be accompanied by an engineer. The general appearance is important. Is it clean and tidy? Are there any obvious leaks? Because of the political sensitivities of oil pollution, there will almost always be an inspection of the oily water separator. The officer in charge of it should be ready to accompany the PSCO. Any evidence of recent repairs, such as fresh paintwork around flanges, will lead to questions.
Can you just show me how to operate for the emergency steering?
The PSCO will want to see that the emergency steering gear is functioning properly and properly maintained. In the galley, the PSCO will be looking for information on the crew's living conditions. Is the galley clean? Is the equipment for fighting fires on the stoves readily available? Is the food properly stored? Is there enough for the next voyage?
This is our chief cook, Jerry.
The PSCO may ask any crew member about their duties. The objective is to ensure that the people on board are competent.
Okay. And where's the garbage? Garbage bins?
There may be questions about the disposal and the records of disposal of garbage. Crew members may be asked what their emergency duties are.
Cook, can I ask you a question?
The senior management team should ensure that all crew members know how to respond to any question. If the PSCO has serious concerns about the ship, they have the power to detain it. This sanction is only applied when the PSCO finds deficiencies that pose an unreasonable risk to the environment or make the ship unfit to go to sea.
Okay, thank you.
There will always be the right of appeal, but the details of this vary in different port states, as it depends on national legislation. The PSCO will always go through the findings with the master and discuss any deficiencies found.
Okay, Captain. Generally speaking, the vessel is a very good vessel, and we are glad to see that the standard has been maintained very high. But as you know, no ship is perfect.
It is unusual for there to be no deficiency.
I will explain to you before.
There may be differences between the conventions and local legislation. The ship will have to comply to the port state's legislation, even if its own flag state's regulations are less strict. The PSCO must have evidence of any deficiency, and the master must check that this is not the result of a misunderstanding.
Regarding the vessel's particulars and all the certificates,
The PSCO may want to be reassured that all minor deficiencies will be rectified before departure.
battery room light,
Usually, the final meeting is a discussion between fellow professionals to sort out small differences of opinion.
okay.
It is important that any action taken by the PSCO is consistent with the nature and seriousness of the deficiency. The PSCO can insist that the deficiencies are put right before departure, or within 14 days, or at the next port. A message will be sent to the next port, and the consequences are serious if the ship does not go there for repairs. If a deficiency that led to detention is put right immediately, it may not delay the ship, but it will still be recorded as a detention in the PSCO's report. If there are disagreements, then the master should be firm but polite and let the ship's operator deal with it. On this ship, there were several detainable deficiencies. However, an inspection by a recognized organization was taking place at the same time. This surveyor had identified the same problems as the PSCO.
Door to hospital on boat deck, starboard side completely wasted. And class to report to Port State Control Office before departure Rotterdam. So you can
This PSCO took the view that in this particular situation, it was not necessary to detain the ship, as the recognized organization was going to ensure that all the problems were put right before departure.
Okay.
The PSCO insisted that the recognized organization report directly to the Port State Authority before the ship's departure to confirm that all the deficiencies had been rectified. All inspections must be documented and recorded, with all deficiencies noted, together with the time allowed to rectify those deficiencies. The majority of the MOUs make these inspection reports available in detail to the maritime community and, in summary, to the public at large. The PSCO's primary function is to ensure that the ship is not putting at risk the people, waterways, ports, and seaboard of the port state. The global spread of port state control has helped improve safety at sea. It also helps ensure that all ship operators are competing for business on equal grounds. It's in everyone's interests, those on board ship, and also owners, operators, and managers, as well as charterers, to improve and maintain all shipping to high standards. Port State Control makes a major contribution to this objective.